children. It's so good to see you tonight. I have a little bit of bad news though. You know, I told you that I was going to read you this book next. Well, it's a really long book and YouTube doesn't want me to read you a long book until I have 50 subscribers. So if you are enjoying my stories, please can you share it with your friends and your families or whatever, because I'd really like to read you my very special book. But I need 50 subscribers, so please can you share it. So what I am going to do is I can only do short videos, so I'm going to read you a wonderful short story, and it's from Enid Blyton, and it's from The Tower in the Ho-Ho Wood and Other Stories. And tonight's story is called The Enchanted Gloves. Ho-Ho and Higgledy were two little brownies who lived in Sunflower Cottage at the end of Honey Common. Look how cute they are. Two little brownies. One was a painter and the other was a carpenter. You know what that is, right? Somebody who works with wood. Ho-Ho could paint a wall or a door in double quick time, and Higgledy could make anything you pleased, from a giant's table to a canary's bath. One day they had a message from Long Beard, the Chancellor of Fairyland. He lived in a palace nearby, and the two brownies often saw him in his golden carriage. Ho-Ho opened the letter and read it out loud to Higgledy. This is what it said. The Chancellor would be glad if Ho-Ho and Higgledy would call at his palace tomorrow morning to do some work. Ha, said Higgledy, please, that's fine. We shall get well paid for that, and it will be lovely to say that we have worked for the Chancellor. All our friends will know that we are good workmen. The next morning the brownies went to the palace. Longbeard, the Chancellor, saw them and told them that he wanted his dining room painted yellow and a new bookshelf made for his study. Very good, sir, said Ho-Ho and Higgledy. We will start straight away. They began their work, whistling merrily. Cinders, the Chancellor's black cat, and Snowy, the white dog. Can you see them? Cinders and Snowy. They came to watch too. They sat solemnly there and watched everything that the brownies did. Do go away, said Ho-Ho at last. You make us feel quite uncomfortable, staring at us all day. Look, I even have a kitty. This is Katy Cat. Say hello, Katy Cat. Say hello, people. Hello. This is Katy Cat. Okay, but here we have Cinders and Snowy, right? Anyway, so, do go away, said Ho-Ho at last. You make us feel quite uncomfortable, staring all day like that. We like to watch you, said Cinders. What a lovely color that yellow is that you're using, Ho-Ho. I wish my tail was that color, said Snowy the dog. I hate being all white, and Snowy's such a silly name. Well, it's just as bad as being black, said Cinders. It's very dull. Now, if I were striped yellow, I should feel grand. Will you have any paint left over when you've finished your job, Ho-Ho? Asked the dog. I might, said Ho-Ho, but if you think I'm going to waste it on you, you are very much mistaken. Yes, but the Chancellor would be so pleased, said Cinders. I'm sure he's tired of seeing us all in one color. He might pay you double for being so kind. I don't know about that, said Higgledy. I've heard the Chancellor is not very generous. Snowy, Cinders, come and have your dinner, called a voice. The two animals ran off and Ho-Ho and Higgledy went on with their work. The next day, the next Snowy and Cinders came and watched the two brownies, and on the third day, when Ho-Ho had finished painting The walls were a beautiful bright yellow, and Higgledy had made a very nice bookshelf. The two animals went over to the paint jar. They looked into it, and then they spoke to Ho-Ho. Ho-Ho, do let us have a little bit of the paint that's left over, begged Cinders. We would be so glad of it, and we're sure the Chancellor would be pleased. Couldn't you just paint me yellow with your big brush? Do it, please. Please, said Snowy, wagging his little tail. How would you like to be dressed in nothing but white for all of your life? I shouldn't like that at all, actually, said Ho-Ho, but I don't think I dare to do what you want. Look how they're chatting it out. That's a good thing, to chat out your thoughts and feelings with somebody else. That's a good thing. Look. The animals begged so hard that at last Ho-Ho and Higgledy gave in. Higgledy painted Snowy's long tail a most beautiful yellow and gave him yellow ears too. And Ho-Ho painted long yellow stripes all the way down Cinder's black body. They did look funny. Oh my gosh. They did look funny. Oh, Ho-Ho and Higgledy began to laugh when they saw how strange the two animals looked. But Cinders and Snowy were pleased. They ran out of the room, down the passage and round the corner, and they met the Chancellor. He stared in astonishment and horror at his cat and dog. Whatever could have happened to them? Was this really Snowy with yellow ears and a tail? With horrible-looking animal that was. And could this really be his beautiful black cat Cinders with long yellow stripes all down her body? My eyes must be going wrong, groaned the Chancellor. Where are my glasses? He put them on and looked at the animals again, but they were still the same. What a terrible thing. Who has done this dreadful deed? Roared the Chancellor, and suddenly feeling very, very angry. Ho-Ho and Higgledy, was that you? He strode into the dining room and found the two brownies there, looking very scared. How dare you paint my dog and my cat? Shouted Longbeard. Get out of my palace at once. But please, sir, Snowy and Cinders begged us to do that, said Ho-Ho. I didn't want to do it, but they said that you would be pleased. I don't believe you, said the Chancellor angrily. You did it as a horrible joke. Go away and never come back. We finished our work, said Ho-Ho, so if you could kindly pay us, please, sir. Pay you, said the Chancellor. Not a penny piece, not a penny piece, Ho-Ho. You are wicked. Servants, come and throw these wicked brownies out. The two servants at once ran up, caught hold of the brownies, and threw them down the front steps of the palace. Ho-Ho and Higgledy picked themselves up and ran off in fright, leaving behind all their tools and their brushes. They didn't stop running until they came to Sunflower Cottage. They sat down on their chairs and they wept bitterly. Nasty, horrible old Chancellor, said Ho-Ho. We did our work. Why couldn't he have paid us? We just wanted to save that money, that mean old man. We'll pay him back somehow, said Higgledy, drying his eyes. We'll go to Thumbs, the glove maker. He is very clever. Perhaps he will think of some way to punish this mean Chancellor. So, the next day, they went to visit their friend Thumbs. He made gloves, red ones, white ones, brown ones, blue ones, little ones, big ones, thick ones, thin ones. He was very clever indeed. Welcome, he said when he saw his two friends. He put down his work and set out 3 cups and 3 plates. We will have some biscuits and hot cocoa. You look sad. Tell me your troubles, my friends. So over their steaming cups of cocoa, Ho-Ho and Higgledy told Thumbs all about the mean Chancellor and how he had thrown them out of the palace without paying them, and a penny, not even a penny, because they had been kind enough to do what Snowy and Cinders had begged them to do. We mean to punish the Chancellor, but we can't think of how. You are very clever, Thumbs. Can you help us, please? Thumbs put his finger on his nose and rubbed it, thinking hard. Then he began to smile. I have got an idea, he said. It's old Longbeard's birthday next week. I can make him a gloves, and you can send that to him without saying who it came from. Inside the gloves, I will put a naughty spell. This spell will act as soon as he puts the gloves on. What will it do? Said Ho-Ho in excitement. Well, it will make him pinch and punch and pull everybody who happens to be with him at the time, said Thumbs. Both his hands will be acting so strangely he won't know what's happening. They will pull people's noses, box their ears, tickle their ribs, and punch them. Goodness, how funny it would be to watch that. Then Ho-Ho, Higgledy, and Thumbs began to laugh until the tears were running down their faces and dropping down their noses onto the table. Oh, what a joke that would be. All that week, Thumbs worked at the gloves. They were beautiful. Each was deep red and had little yellow buttons. They were edged with white fur, and they were quite the loveliest gloves that the brownies had ever seen. When the right day came, Ho-Ho and Higgledy posted the parcel to Longbeard. They decided to take a walk near the palace one afternoon of the Chancellor's birthday to see if they could hear what happened. I forgot to show you the picture of the brownies talking to their friend Longbeard and hatching the plan of the gloves. Sorry. Anyway, so the right day had happened. Longbeard had scores of parcels on his birthday. He opened them one after another, and most of them he didn't like one little bit, for he was a mean old man. But when it came to those gloves, oh my, what a surprise! What magnificent gloves! How warm! Who could have sent them? There was no card in the parcel, and Longbeard puzzled hard to think who had given him such a nice present. It must be the king himself, he thought at last. He thinks so much of me, and I expect he sent me these gloves to show me how much he likes me. Well, I must wear them this afternoon, that's certain, for the king is calling me in his carriage, and he would like me to see his present on my hands. So, that afternoon, at exactly 3 o'clock, when the king's carriage rolled up, the Chancellor stood ready to join the king. He carried his new gloves in his hand, and he meant to put them on as soon as he was in the carriage. And then the king would see them, and perhaps he would be pleased because he knew that he had given them for his birthday. The carriage came, and the king leaned out to greet the Chancellor. "Come into the carriage, Longbeard," he said. "It's a beautiful afternoon for a drive." Longbeard stepped in, and the door was closed. Just then up came Ho-Ho and Higgledy and Thumbs out for a walk near the palace. When they saw the Chancellor getting into the king's carriage with the enchanted gloves, they stood still in fright. Whatever would happen to the king when Longbeard put on the gloves? "Come on, we must watch with the carriage," cried Ho-Ho, and he ran after it. All 3 brownies swung themselves up on the ledge behind the carriage and sat there, unseen by anybody. The Chancellor put on his gloves, and the king looked at them. "What beautiful gloves," he said, and then he gave a shout of surprise. Longbeard's hand had suddenly flown to the king's nose and pulled it hard. Then they went to the king's ribs and began to tickle him. "Oh!" cried the king. "Oh, stop it! Whatever is the matter with you, Longbeard? Have you gone mad?" The Chancellor was filled with horror. What was he doing? Why did his hands do such dreadful things? Why, they were boxing the king's ears. Oh my gosh. He tried to put them in his pockets, but he couldn't. They flew to the king's head and knocked the crown off and pulled his hair. Then they slapped his face and pinched his cheeks. The Chancellor grew angry and slapped the king grew angry. The king grew angry and slapped the Chancellor back. Then he gave him a punch that made him gasp. The three brownies saw everything that had happened, for they were peeping in the windows, and they were horrified. "Gloves, come to me!" cried Thumbs suddenly. At once the red gloves flew off Long Beard's hands and went to Thumbs. The Chancellor's hands stopped behaving so queerly, and he stared at the king in shame. The king stopped the carriage and got out. "I must get to the bottom of this," he says. "What explanation do you have, Longbeard?" "None, your majesty," said Longbeard, trembling. "I don't know what happened at all." "Well, perhaps you can tell me the meaning of this," said the king, turning suddenly to the three brownies who stood nearby, red and ashamed. "Please, your majesty, I confess everything," said Ho-Ho, and he told the king everything that had happened, all about the work that was done at Longbeard's palace, the cat and the dog painted yellow, and the Chancellor's anger and meanness. Then he told how Thumbs had made the gloves to punish Longbeard, and the king looked very stern. "You had no right to think that you could punish the counselor by yourselves," he said. "You should have come to me and laid a complaint. You have done wrong, and you must be punished. I shall spank you myself. As for you, Chancellor, you did wrong too, but the punishment has been enough. He must certainly pay you what he owes you, though, but you must give half of it to the Brownies' Hospital. Come here and be spanked." The three brownies were spanked, and the king forgave them. The Chancellor opened his purse with a very bad grace and gave Ho-Ho and Higgledy what he owed them. "You might give me 10 pounds to put in the hospital box too," said the king to the angry Chancellor. "I'm sure that won't hurt you." Then the carriage rolled off again, and the three brownies walked home, not knowing if they should be glad or sorry. "We better not be naughty any more," said Ho-Ho at last. "What do you think, Higgledy and Thumbs?" "We think the same," said his friends. So for quite a half a year they were good as gold. And after that, well, that's another story. The end. I think that this story means that, it takes two people in an argument. Sometimes you can only point at the other person and say, "You're doing the wrong thing." And they're pointing at you and saying, "You're doing the wrong thing." But sometimes it happens that both of you are actually doing the wrong thing. And it takes some listening to find out. I think that was a very good story, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. So, from Aunty Jen,